Honey.
Good day everyone, and welcome back to Adventures with Parker. Today we are continuing my California adventure vlogs with a visit to one of Hollywood's most iconic movie studios as we embark on the Warner Brothers Studio Tour. This 3-hour experience includes a tram tour through iconic backlot sets, a stop at Soundstage 48 for photo ops at the sets from Friends and Big Bang Theory, interactive exhibits on the DC and Harry Potter universes, and more. Now, because we weren't able to film for a large portion of the tour, this vlog is going to be a little different, since it'll mostly consist of me sharing some photos and explaining what we saw through some voiceovers. But if you're down for that, I'm really excited to talk about everything that we got to see and do on this tour. So, without any further ado, let the WB adventures begin. Warner Brothers offers a few different versions of the studio tour, but we opted to do the standard version. The tour cost us $76 USD per person, and included an hour of guided tour time on the trams, plus about 2 hours of self-guided tour time to check out the exhibits. The experience begins in a large waiting room featuring exhibits about Warner Brothers history and some props and posters from some of their most beloved titles. They even displayed some items that belonged to Jack Warner himself. It was super cool and really set the mood for what you were going to see next. From there, you boarded the tram, met your guide, and headed out to the backlot. Our first stop was an area called The Jungle, named for its lush vegetation and versatility for scenes that called for, well, a jungle. It doesn't look like much, but it is the place where they shot iconic scenes from Camelot, The Last Samurai, and, my personal favorite, the scene in Jurassic Park where the T-Rex chases down the Jeep. Also found here is a barn, seen in productions like Annabelle Creation and Aquaman, and a cabin that was used in Pretty Little Liars and the HBO show True Bloods. There's also a lagoon that they can fill and dye different colors that they can use as a stand-in for virtually any body of water that they want, from the Atlantic Ocean to a murky swamp. Moving on, we made our way past some residential facades as we made our way to Midwest Street. Midwest Street is nicknamed Anytown USA because of its versatility in portraying your typical small American town. Of course, I primarily recognized it as Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls, which is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. But of course, it's also been featured in Gremlins, The Dukes of Hazzard, Reese Live, and Young Sheldon, where it represented the town of Medford, Texas. But let's be real, I was mostly thinking about Gilmore Girls the whole time. Anyways, the square is surrounded by numerous shop facades that can be dressed up in signage and decor to fit whatever production they're filming there. But our guide was actually able to let us off the tram to take us into the one that was used as Luke's diner. Of course, it doesn't look like a diner now, and it was actually pretty empty inside. However, we were able to see up into the rafters because these buildings don't have ceilings, which allows space for cameras to be placed that can capture overhead angles. We also learned that many of these interiors are attached to other buildings, including this one, that has portrayed several Chinese restaurants over the years. The Embassy Courthouse can also be seen off Midwest Street, and if it looks familiar, it's probably because you've seen it as a courthouse from the Dukes of Hazzard, Rebel Without a Cause, and Seinfeld. It's also Rosewood High School from Pretty Little Liars. Several residential facades can be seen on the streets that feed into the main square, including some very recognizable homes. Some of the most notable ones that we saw were the barn from Pretty Little Liars and Lorelai and Rory's house from Gilmore Girls, which actually backed onto the facade that was used for Suki's house. This is an interesting picture. This is the park, which, again, doesn't really look like much, but has been featured as Central Park in many different productions, one of my favorites being Friends, in the one where Phoebe runs. Back on the tram, we started making our way through the New York streets area. As the name suggests, these streets are typically used to portray the Big Apple. Brownstone Street was constructed in the 1930s, and is notable for its various theater facades, including the Stephen J. Ross Theater. Hennessey Street is named after production designer Dale Hennessey, who redesigned the area for Annie in 1984. Since then, it has been featured in Entourage, Friends, Sex and the City, Spider-Man, Rent, and Batman. The cool thing about these sets is that they can be dressed up by the production designers to look like virtually any area or time period that the directors required. Next up, we got to see some of Warner Brothers' Soundstages. This portion of the tour even included a part where we drove through one of the soundstages where we could see crews prepping for the next production that was set to be filmed there. Some of the soundstages are named after prominent TV shows that were filmed inside, such as the Big Bang Theory stage and the 2.5 Men stage. This concluded the guided portion of the tour, which unfortunately meant that we had to part ways with our amazing tour guide. I wish I remembered her name, but she was absolutely incredible and made our tour so memorable, so shout out to you. You were so awesome. From here, we entered Stage 48, the soundstage in which they shot another one of my favorite TV shows, Friends. Here, we were greeted by a cafe themed to Central Perk, but we'll come back to that later. First, we got to walk through an exhibit called From Script to Screen that walked us through the production process and included a bunch of different props and costumes. We then got to see the actual screen-used Central Perk set. Of course, we had to get a photo on the Friends couch, and I think all of us were really geeking out at this point. We then got to see even more costumes before arriving at a recreation of Sheldon and Leonard's apartment from Big Bang Theory. Again, we got the opportunity to take some photos on the couch, but I'm a little sad in retrospect because at the time, I had only seen a few random episodes of the show and I really didn't appreciate it as much as I should have. But since then, I've become a huge fan, so I kind of wish I could go back now and see it with fresh eyes and just a bigger appreciation for where I was. Honey. So we were just getting some lunch from the Central Perk restaurant, and they gave Amanda a special Central Perk cupcake.
From Friends, my favorite show.
Yes.
How you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
And then what'd you get to drink?
I got Chandler.
The Chandler, okay.
And a memory of Chandler.
Very nice. Burke and I got a drink called the Phoebe. Love it. Yep. It's a cookies and cream, more or less a frappuccino. The Friends-themed fun didn't stop there. After leaving Stage 48, we were brought back to Midwest Street for a fun photo op at the Friends Fountain. Again, lots of geeking out was going on. For the final stop of the tour, we were brought back to the main building to check out some interactive exhibits on the DC Universe and Harry Potter.
Mighty sorting hat, where does that belong?
You have a love of learning. With a brain like yours, it has to be Ravenclaw!
Congrats! Well, Ravenclaw. You had to choose between a ruby, a diamond, a sapphire, or a emerald. Mighty sorting hat, where does that belong?
You have a love of learning. With a brain like yours, it has to be Ravenclaw!
Hey.
Mighty sorting hats, where does that belong?
Honorable to the core. A head like yours is a joy to see. Hufflepuff!
Ambitious.
Mighty sorting hats, where does that belong?
Ah, shrewd and sharp. Slytherin!
Congrats. Welcome.
I'd probably say loyal.
Loyal. Mighty sorting hats, where does that belong?
Honorable to the core. A head like yours is a joy to see. Hufflepuff!
Hi, I'm Paul Harris and I'm on the choreographer of the battle scenes in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Along with the director David Yates, I created and developed the physical language is fighting with the wand known as wand combat. So now let's try move number 1.
Please do not turn the ladle. Just follow the ingredients in the
Bend body nice and straight, the arm above the head, clean curve, one aim directly at the enemy. Bring the wand forward of the head and whip it back. Now let's see what you're Now let's try move number 2. Body to the left, right side through on a flat plane to the enemy.
Oh shit!
Now let's try move number 3. Stay low, left side across, left arm to protect your center. Keep your eye on the target at all times. Now, let's see you try that.
There's no dueling at home.
Start with the knee bent, body nice and straight. Bring the arm above the head. Knee curve. One aim directly at the enemy. Bring the one forward of the head. Whip it back. Now let's see.
The tour concluded with an opportunity to film yourself in front of a green screen flying on a broomstick, which none of us actually purchased, before directing you to the gift shop and back to the main lobby from which you entered. Overall, it was a very cool experience, and I'm so glad that we were able to include it in our trip. It was also really cool because it was the second studio tour that we did during the trip. We did the studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood a few days earlier, which was a 1-hour tour that was included in park admission as a theme park attraction. Now, that one was cool because it included fun attraction stops and special effects in addition to all of the backlots and sound stages. However, the Warner Brothers Studio Tour is a longer experience that goes more in depth on film history. Honestly, if you're a film buff, you're going to want to do both, but I think some things to consider are that Universal's tour is included with park admission, so you get a little more bang for your buck. On the other hand, Warner Brothers tour felt a little more sophisticated and had more opportunities to walk around. Ultimately, if you had to choose between the two, it'll probably come down to what your favorite films and TV shows are and what sets are going to get you the most excited. Kind of like how I got to walk the streets of Stars Hollow and sit in the couch from Friends. In any case, we enjoyed the tour a lot, and I'm glad we got to cross this quintessential Hollywood experience off of my bucket list. Speaking of Hollywood, that's where we're headed next. The next episode of my California adventures will feature the Walk of Fame, the Chinese Theater, Madame Tussauds, and Quenten's stand-up comedy performance at the Hollywood Comedy Club. If you don't want to miss that or any of my other future adventures, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification icon so you don't miss any of my new videos. You can also follow me on social media at adbparker on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and Blue Sky, and at Adventures with Parker on TikTok and Facebook. Big shout out to all my Patreon members for going above and beyond in your support of the channel, and if you'd like to learn how to support me with a monthly donation in exchange for some sweet perks and bonus content, head on over to patreon.com/adbparker to learn more. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, the adventures are calling. Bye!
Must go faster.